Hi, this is Dorothea Jensen again, aka Dee Jensen, and this is my second video blog. And today I would like to talk about um, my inspiration for writing historical fiction. It's sort of a two-parter. I'm going to do it in two parts because I would also like to talk about the specific inspiration for writing about A Bust from Lafayette, which is my new book coming out in April of 2016, and it was on the cup I showed you yesterday. And I have to tell you that the Izzyels were quite upset that I didn't show you their cups. They've been whining all day. But I will show you the Izzyelf cups at a later date. You can see that they're up on the shelf there. Anyway, my first blog was pretty silly, I admit it. And besides which, my husband told me so, in which I talked about how coffee is a major inspiration for my writing. Today I'd like to talk about sort of what really is one of the main inspirations for me writing historical fictions. Now, first of all, you have to know that in 1997, my mother and I went on a Jane Austen tour in England, and we saw many of the sites where she lived during her life. And this tour involved a lot of riding around to get from one place to another place. So because we were sort of, in essence, pilgrims following the footsteps of Jane Austen, we actually ended up doing something very similar to what Chaucer's pilgrims did who were on the way to Canterbury. We told stories to each other. And I told a story about how when I was in 8th grade, my teacher, Mrs. Maybelle Hedrick, had been one of the people who helped to homestead Oklahoma in the late 19th century as a small child, just like Laura Ingalls Wilder. And she was one of my childhood idols, so I was very interested in everything Maybelle had to tell us about growing up on a claim. Well, when she was a little girl, her mother took her to visit someone who was in jail in their town, and this person was Geronimo, the Indian leader. Her mother considered him to be quite a great leader and wanted Maybelle to meet him. So, with her hair in pigtails, she went to the jail with her mother. And the first thing he did was put his hand through the bars and pat her on the head and said, "When I was younger, I had a daughter who wore her hair just like that." And he shook hands with her. So I made a very big point of shaking hands with Maybelle myself. And I made sure that my kids all shook hands with her too later on. She lived to be over 100 years old. And I really think that having that experience in 8th grade made it appear to me that the historical past was really very close to us. If I was able to talk with someone who had been a homesteader as a child, that meant that the 19th century was not that far behind us at the time. Now, of course, we've clicked over a new century now, but even so, I'm sure that was one of the reasons why I became so interested in the past, and I also became interested in writing stories that were set in the past. So thank you, Maybelle, and thank you, Geronimo, for inspiring me to write historical fiction. Thanks.